The room went silent the moment my mother said it loud enough for everyone at the party to hear. This party is cheap and embarrassing. We would be better off without you. The music kept playing, but every conversation around the ballroom seemed to freeze for a second, and dozens of eyes slid toward me. I had spent the last 3 months planning this sweet 16 for my niece and nearly $50,000 over the past 10 years, quietly paying for things my family said they could not afford: rent, medical bills, school fees, groceries, emergencies that somehow happen every few weeks. I'd always told myself family helps, family, and I'd never asked for thanks, but standing there under the glittering lights, watching my niece pose beside the giant cake I paid for, while my own mother looked at me with open disgust, something inside me shifted. I nodded once calmly and said, "In that case, I will stop paying your bills." At first she laughed like I had made a joke, but when she saw my face, her smile vanished. "You would not dare," she whispered, her voice suddenly sharp like broken glass, but I simply turned away and walked out into the cold night air for the first time in years, feeling strangely calm. The next morning, the phone started ringing nonstop, my sister crying, my mother screaming, relatives sending messages about how selfish and cruel I was. But I ignored them all until a message arrived from an unknown number that made my stomach drop. It said, "You think you can just walk away from us after everything you know?" The words felt wrong, like a threat rather than guilt. And that was the first moment I realized something much darker had always been hiding behind the family drama. Over the years, my money had quietly flowed through accounts I never questioned. Payments I assumed were rent or hospital bills. But when I finally opened my banking records and traced where those transfers went, the numbers did not add up at all. Thousands had been redirected through shell accounts tied to a small business my brother-in-law claimed had failed years ago. Except it had not failed, it had grown. And the more I searched, the clearer the picture became. My generosity had not just been supporting my family, it had been funding something they desperately did not want me to see. Late that night, my mother showed up at my apartment, banging on the door hard enough to shake the frame. When I opened it, she was not angry anymore. She was nervous, which was far worse. "You should not be looking into things," she said quietly, stepping inside. Without waiting for permission, families survive by keeping certain things private, but the fear in her eyes told me the truth before she even finished speaking. There was something illegal hidden inside the life I had been paying for, something big enough that cutting them off could ruin everything for them and maybe put me in danger too. I suddenly remembered dozens of strange details over the years: unexplained trips, sudden cash emergencies, relatives who avoided answering simple questions. The realization hit me like ice water. My money had not just kept them comfortable, it had kept their secrets alive. When I told my mother the payments were over for good, she stared at me like I had just lit a fuse. "You do not understand what you are doing," she said slowly. "If you stop now, everything falls apart." Behind her, through the window, I noticed a car parked across the street, engine running, lights off, someone watching the building, maybe waiting. My mother followed my gaze, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "It is not just about the bills anymore," she said, "and if you walk away now, they will come for you next." Suddenly, the cruel words she shouted at the party felt like the smallest part of the story, because for the first time I understood that my family had never been afraid of losing my money. They had been terrified of losing my silence.